Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. Oh, weather-related issues and Terp victories and Ravens just sort of hanging out in the aftermath of the Joe Flacco thing. But I know this guy. This guy's all worked up for Orioles baseball. Bill Cole joins us now yet again from Cole Roofing, where, of course, he's waiting for all the snowfall totals to end and spring to spring and roofs to do and all that good stuff. But it used to be a time, and Bill, I know we're going to talk some Flacco, but I know you want to talk some Oriole baseball. I put out a tweet the day the pitchers and catchers started. I said, it used to be like a really big day around here, pitchers and catchers reporting. I would be down there traditionally this week doing radio in a dugout. I did that for 15 years. They didn't like it. They didn't appreciate it. They banned me. And instead, I don't know what they're doing, right? Like, I wrote those letters last summer before they traded Machado, and now Machado's going to go off and be a Padre of all things. You're going to have to explain that one to me, owner of the Padres, Bill Cole. But baseball on the tongue, it used to be for guys our age. It was a sort of a rite of passage of spring and things we talk about and things we look forward to. Boy, we all know there's no season to look forward to, which puts us back where we were 10 or 12 years ago, which was not a real good place for any of us, right, Bill?
Yeah, my guess is now it's just sort of a milestone on the calendar of winter's almost over. How about that? like as soon as opening day, yes, that means it's April, and we are definitely past all the snow. So that's all it is at this point. There's not really. I'm not really curious as to who's showing up or what condition they're in or any of that. I'd be curious to even see the names of the people that have shown up down there and see how many of those I can remember.
Well, this is the real problem of what they have, right? There is no drama to sell, so they need to sell something else. I mean, dude, you do roofs, right? I mean, as much as, like, I go on and see a picture of the solar work you've done and say, hey, that's really cool and good-looking and sexy, some people see it and think it's a blight, right? And those are the people, along with the coal people, that fight your industry. But I would also say, you have to sell something. There's something sexy about, hey, it stays warm and safe inside your place, right? And that I can make it do that. And whatever the peace of mind you sell in the roofing business, they're in the business of hope. They're in the business of community, right? They're in the business of bring your family and have a good time and bring your kids. I don't know that they're in the business of value, right? Like,
I don't think they're in those businesses.
What business are they in right now? Maybe that's the question we should ask, right? What business are the Baltimore Orioles in 2019 to get your money? And more important than your money, because you can get my money, you got to get my time, right? Like, whatever the time I used to give to Oriole baseball, Bill, you know me pretty well. I'm not going to be giving it anymore. I'm not giving 4 hours of my life to these people, 6 months a year, to watch them lose. I'm not doing it this year, and neither's anybody else, by the way. I'm going to make a pivot in my life that you're aware of with my Baltimore Positive initiative, and I don't have it to give to them anymore at 50 when I know that they've given nothing back, and that's a tragedy for somebody that's built my life around Baltimore sports, man.
Right. It's not just that they have to win to get your time. Like, we've enjoyed watching lots of people lose over the years, right? But they were worth rooting for, and you knew they were giving maximum effort, or there was a connection between you and them at a core level that just said, win, lose, or tie, I'm there and I'm going to root. And
how many people still feel like they're a family Christmas thing around here? You know what I mean? Like, how many? I mean, I see it because I'm on Facebook threads where, I mean, it's 1979 all over again, Bill. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely see it. I am subjected to it in some sort of Saturday Night Live way. Like, I think to myself, all of these people put this much attention into it when it's very, very obvious they don't care about you. And like, I just look at what has transpired over the last 4 months and say, what are they doing? There is no appearance that they exist on a daily basis in this city. It's really incredible.
Yeah, I don't think we need to get the data to know that even though those forums still exist where people are still diehards, that those numbers are dwindling. And I would be willing to guess that those numbers are dwindling faster than they ever have before. to your point about what
there's
they're
nobody
selling,
filling in at the bottom end. That's what the issue is, right?
That's
I mean,
true,
people like you and I have gone away, and they either need to get us back or get our offspring really excited about bringing us back or someone like us back. And I don't know who those people are, dude. Like, I'm gravely concerned about the Orioles' existence when they need to renegotiate a lease with the state, with the city, with where the city is. I am very, very concerned about that. I really am. Long term, what becomes of the Orioles, because no one is coming this year. No one's coming, and they're not doing anything. Like, there is no initiative to get people interested in it because they don't know what they're doing. I mean, I don't think they have competence at a core level, Bill. You know, I wouldn't hire them to do my roof. I wouldn't hire them to do my baseball team.
But if they started winning in April as like these no-name grinders, I bet very quickly everyone goes sort of flocking back. Like, we may not fill the stadium because, you know, there's some deep wounds here, but people's attention will, because we love that, right? We love that as a town, like the no-name grinder guys, and we're just doing this, you know, new methodology and the
Lamar Jackson would tell you that, right? We're 8 weeks off of winning a bunch of football games with Lamar Jackson. All of us see it and say, this isn't sustainable. I go to Atlanta, and every expert I talk to says, yeah, this isn't sustainable, and yet we bought in, right? I mean, for the most, I don't know. I was there I couldn't give my tickets away in December, Bill. So, you know, and now the owner is hibernating, literally. Steve Bisciotti is hibernating, and the Orioles are going to lose either 98 or 100 and X, right? Like, that's where we are. And the Terps have a tip-in win, and some of us fell asleep on the game, and you know, I am worried with the sports part of what I do is that the Orioles need to hold up their end of the bargain, and they're not, you know, and they haven't. And that has been my bone of contention from the beginning is, are you this incompetent, this stupid, this mean? And they've checked all the boxes, you know, over a quarter of a century, and now they're just this bad. And there's a level of competence, I think, that comes with Elias and Hyde every time I see them, but I don't really see them. You know what I mean? Like, they don't look like they really want to be hanging out with the media or the fans so much. They're nerds. You know what I mean? Like, they're baseball people studying analytics, and they're not going to have time for that when they're getting their heads beaten in and losing 7-2 in the fifth inning every night, which they're going to be doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
For a long time here, you know?
Are you able to separate your personal loss of interest as a possibility of your maturity or just where your life is or the events that have occurred in your life to give perspective on things?
So you say watching my wife almost die 155 nights in a hospital and leaving her 155 nights and coming home and watching that might affect me wasting 4 hours on a June night watching them battle the Twins.
Yeah.
In front of 6,400 people that made their way to Camden Yards on an otherwise glorious 82-degree evening when they are 21-47, right? I mean, that's what you're asking me to do on a Tuesday night, is do that instead of being a 50-year-old guy hanging out with my son, watching paint dry, writing my next book, learning how to play the guitar, making Baltimore better. I don't know, things that I could be focused on this summer, which is really what, you know, the greater conversation for a 50-year-old guy is. I've tried to fix the Orioles all my life. I sort of just want to drop the mic and say, you know what, they need to fix themselves. I'm much more concerned, Bill, and you know this, with what's going on in the city. And part of the malaise of the city is because They are so horrible on the field, so horrible reputationally throughout the community that no one wants to give them the benefit of the doubt and come down and give them $20. And no one wants to come to the city because they're afraid of the city. And maybe part of that is a baseball team that once shut the doors, played a baseball game, and said, the city's too unsafe for you to come, but the game's too important to get in. So we have to shut the doors and play the game as the tanks circle the ballpark and literally get the game in. They did that. They made a corporate decision to do that a couple of years ago, and now they wonder why old white people in the suburbs don't want to come to the city. It's mind-boggling to me. And Bill, the larger issue, too, is really where baseball is and Manfred and pace a game and the designated hitter and all of these, and the fact that Machado got $300 million from the Padres, and he's now going to, as Tom Boswell wrote on Tuesday, I thought this was great, he's going to disappear, right? Like literally as fans, he's going to play for a team that doesn't matter in the middle of the night. It's going to be like Robinson Cano when he left New York, right? It's going to be like he went to play in Japan or something.
Yeah, I just think that's an interesting cross of paths when all those issues that you have around this sport, and then layer on, playing a game with an empty stadium because all of a sudden real life intersected with our sporting entertainment life, and you're already in this place where your life is putting these things in front of you that none of us are ever prepared to handle or deal with.
Obstacles, we would say, right? Literally.
And it just gives us perspective, and all of a sudden it's like, I just wonder all the things that you see frustrated about baseball, they probably don't occur to 20-somethings. That's not really the reason they're not going. That's a totally different conversation.
Well, they didn't live through the 81 strike when their old man canceled the Sporting News. They didn't have a sports company like I did in 1994 when these guys just walked off the job, right? Like 3.6 million tickets sold, nobody came to work, right? Like they canceled the World Series, right? And we're wondering if they canceled the World Series this year, would anybody notice? You know what I mean? Like literally outside of whatever two markets would be in it, would anybody notice? I mean, baseball is really on a tremendously horrific curve from an interest level, but they have all of this data about BAM and clicks on their mobile devices that say everyone loves baseball, but no one comes anymore. My eyes, my ears, my heart, my soul, everything about what I see in our community says that baseball used to be a big part of the glue here that held everything together. And right now, it's a big part of we look at and say, well, this was the first thing to sort of go awry when we stopped bringing 3 million people into the city to watch baseball games where every kid wanted to grow up to be Cal Ripken. The Orioles now are letting Manny Machado go wallow in San Diego, who is the best player of their generation, over money that they've already collected that Mr. Angelos apparently either spent or won't spend or will die with and give to these kids. I don't know why Governor Schaefer built this stadium. I mean, I'm trying to figure out who the winners of a civic endeavor to make a baseball team the centerpiece of our city, and 30 years later, they're going to be in last place for the absolute. They've guaranteed you. Just go read Astro Ball. They've guaranteed you last place for the next 3 years, maybe the next 5 years, and nobody's saying anything about any civic responsibility that they have except me. And no one's holding them accountable, and they're going to come out in the next 24 to 36 months and want to have improvements and want some bra hung over the stadium so that when it rains, that and they're going to want to build a casino into the lower level and hang. I don't know what they're going to want to do. They're going to want to own Otterbein. You know what I mean? They're going to want to annex the money factory across the street and put up condos and parking because that's what the Cubs have done. That's what the Padres have done. That's what baseball has become. That's what the Braves have done, except the Braves did it in Owings Mills, right? So the future of the Orioles should be a very, very viable, topical, significant conversation that this community should be having, and people like me should be having it, except it's somnambulant, dude. They're just going to lose, and they're not going to matter, and they're going to put a billboard up, and, they're going to take some pictures of kids eating hot dogs in tight shots, and they're going to put it on the interweb, and Jim Hunter is going to rah-rah some kid at Delmarva, and Mike Bordy's going to come on every night with that somber look on his face and look into the camera and tell you true lies, and then shrug his shoulders when he runs into me at the airport. You know what I mean?
What happens if you put up a 15,000-seat arena across the street, and the only thing it hosts are esports, and all of a sudden you're packing it 3 times a month with 15,000 kids and their parents who have no concept of what that is, but they just know that everyone's paying $8 to go in the door and watch someone else play a video game. Like, that's a thing. We don't really understand it.
Well, you're trying to teach me robotics, Bill Cole, so I mean...
yeah,
I remember when you just did roofs,
trying to learn
right?
I mean,
stuff, remember that you just put on gloves and grabbed tar and did roofs, right? It was it was all real simple back then, right?
but I mean, we're numb, and you got to kind of understand where you are in your life and what's important to you, because there is this whole esports thing that's occurring, that's a real thing, and people don't get it. But it really is basically the same thing. The game has changed, and the barriers to play it. So, like, you don't have to be 6'4", 285 pounds, and run a 4.5, right? Like,
well,
you don't
I think
have
that's
to
what made
anything.
poker so popular 15 years ago. You were a little younger than me. Everybody your age, everybody that was born in the 80s, male, thought that they were going to get sunglasses and go to Vegas and get a gold watch, or literally there was this, and people my generation didn't play poker. It was what old guys did. My uncle played poker. You know what I mean? Like, we played Donkey Kong, and my dad didn't understand why I wanted to hang out at Mercados at East Point Mall and play Burger Time and Donkey Kong and Pac-Man and Aladdin's Castle. I mean, literally, but that didn't become like I can make money by being the best Donkey Kong player, right? Like, that's the next generation of this. Ted Leontis is into it, dude. I don't understand it at all. And, hey, man, there were old people doing High-Lie down in Miami. I still don't understand High-Lie or Greyhound dog racing 30 years later. But, I used to go to spring training, and Schmuck and those guys would go crazy at the track for that. I mean, there's certain things you get into you don't understand, but the esports thing, it's all across my timeline, and I'm thinking, my God, I haven't had time to read Hemingway yet, Bill. You know what I mean?
Right, but just think about, and I heard this, it might have been Mark Cuban that was talking about it in an interview. Like, if you're 19 years old going to college, you can get paid any amount of money to, as your side hustle, be a professional video game player. And no one is giving you a hard time about your college scholarship or how you're earning your living or your eligibility. Like, that person actually has the ability to do both and do well for themselves. And they're looking around like, this is the greatest thing ever. So there's some weird control over college sports and our kids.
Oh, my God. Is there anything that should be more outlawed than the NCAA, as we're now 3 weeks away on every guy in a suit making $1 billion except the guys running around dribbling and making them? It's inconceivable to me in America that the cartel that they've built, that they get away with this. It really, and we see Bruno Fernando, which brings us back to sports. Bill Cole here, Cole Roofing. I want to hold your coffee cup up. It does not have Cole coffee in it. It has Royal Farms coffee in it. But the Royal Farms coffee cup is empty. It's a long story, but it's marketing. It's Cole Roofing. Tell everybody what you do before we get into the Terps, because I want to talk Ravens. God, you didn't even get a chance to talk Flacco. You and I were together. I think you were like my last conversation before the WNST text went off with Flacco. But you're doing roofs. It's that time of the year, right? Like, if your roof's going to fall apart, it's probably going to fall apart right now, right?
Yeah, it's really important, and we try and communicate as much as we can at this time. Like, you got to keep your drainage systems clear, right? So we're trying to keep the water out of your building, which means we need to give it away to get off the roof. And when that stuff gets clogged, that's when serious damage.
The water freezes on your roof? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of not good stuff happens. So, and it's not always advisable for people to go climbing up on their roofs. So we offer that service, and that's what we do, and we've been doing it for a long time. So we're very much interested in trying to help people extend the life of their roof as opposed to have to buy new ones. We do like it when they buy new ones, and that helps us, employ a whole bunch of people and do a lot of good stuff in our community. But at the same time, it's really about trying to take care of this asset, and it's out of sight, out of mind, and we understand that people kind of don't want to have to deal with it and don't want to think about it. So we like to step in the middle and make sure you don't have to think about it.
Well, okay, so I've never told you this story, but I live up high, right? So, but I am afraid of height, right? So like if you put me out on a ledge, I don't like it very much, right? So when I was a kid, we had like one of those 3-footers, snow, and it's probably 79, 80, 81, somewhere there. And the snow had gotten really heavy up on the awning, right? And I live in a little, you know where I grew up. I grew up in a little row house in Colgate, across Beach Point Mall. And, we had no basement. We just had a little tiny house. I don't even know how many square feet my mom's house is, but it's tiny. And my dad wanted me to go out and take a shovel and clear off the awning. And he was trying to throw me out the bathroom window, right? And my mom, who, by the way, my parents lost a child who drowned, so there was a whole different night. I lost a finger when I was 3, so, like, my parents had a lot of freak out about them, and especially my mom, which with good reason. So, it took me a long time to understand that. But I'll never forget, I was going to go out onto the roof and clear the roof, and my mom saw my dad pushing me out there, and my mom's like, "Don't push him out onto the roof." And my dad, and I'm like, I got to listen to Mom. And my dad's like, "Get out onto the roof. You got to clear this off or the roof's going to fall in." So I'm in the middle of my mom and dad. So, that's the only time I've ever been on a roof in my life. I was caught between my mom and my dad. I don't, roofs are not for everybody, not for me. You know what I mean?
And how old do you think you were then?
I was 11. It affected me.
11,
yeah,
right,
probably 10, 11.
Because, today,
it was only 12 feet up, 15 feet up, but it felt like, the top of the Empire State Building, man.
No, I get it. I laugh because, growing up, I was probably cutting grass when I was 12, 11,
right.
13. At that point, you're competent enough.
I delivered the Dundalk Eagle is what I did. That was my deal, right?
Right. If you talk to parents today, their assessment of their 11, 12, 13-year-old children is if I put a lawnmower in their hands, they're definitely going to chop something off, right? It is inconceivable how time has shifted and how the lack of confidence we have in our youth today and their ability to
I am not Schneider. My dad was a Schneider. My wife's dad is a Schneider, a fixer of things and a tool belt. So and my wife is an engineer. So my wife is the tool belt. So if there's anybody to get on our roof, and I don't have a roof here, but I think my wife has been on the roof on Hart Road. I believe my son for sure has been on the roof at Hart Road. I have never been. To your point, my son listens to WNST, and he'll say, "Hey, Dad, Bill Cole told me to clean the gutters out, or he's going to have to come out here and fix the roof." So there, okay? So it does prove that I listen to you.
I've been on the roof of where you live now, and I can tell you that was one of the more interesting projects that we ever did.
It is windy. So. I promise you it is very, very windy. Bill Cole here from Cole Roofing. Dude, anything you want to say on Flacco? Because I've beaten up the Orioles enough for their malaise, and they haven't even started playing, but at least I bared my soul to you, and that's what I do around here. I bared my soul on Flacco, and I haven't written my dear Joe Flacco letter. I think I want to do that the day he shows up in front of the Broncos logo and talks to the media because that's the day people are going to ask him what really happened here. And if he wants to say anything, he will. And maybe one day he'll come back and say, the 2018 season was kind of nightmarish for me because I got hurt and had my job taken away and had people pissing on me, saying I didn't care anymore. And I can see him on a podium in Miami next year, with Von Miller going to a Super Bowl and saying, I'm 6'5", I'm 34, I throw the ball 70 yards down the field. You guys counted me out. You thought because I had $150 million and I had a bunch of kids that I stopped caring. You brought a kid in that can't throw as well as me, can't read defenses as well as me, but runs like the lightning, and you fell in love with that, and God bless you, and I'm in Denver, and I won 11 games, and I went into New England and beat Brady, and here I am again. That's possible with Joe Flacco. I mean, this is the point where I measure his heart. And I think $150 million has done a lot of things to him, but I think he's got some mojo and some soul about him and some quiet fire that he's really pissed off. I don't know that, but I would think he's got a lot to prove that the ghost of Tyler Palco sits on his left shoulder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a couple things that I think are almost fact about Joe. Like, I cannot envision a day where Joe runs off at the mouth about him being treated unfairly here. He
made $150 million, right?
And he just is too much of a stand-up guy to do that. Totally agree with you. You can see in the back of his eyeballs the fire, and the pissed off nature of how he's going to go about doing his business.
Oh, dude, when he sits in front of that Broncos logo next to John Elway and says, "This guy wants me. You guys traded me in for the 32nd pick in the draft, and you didn't get me any help." And you know what I mean? Like, I literally. I haven't talked. Joe and I have exchanged 2 texts, and they were very pleasant and good luck, and telling him where to get breakfast in Denver, and having a little joke about keeping kids away from the gummy bears. But
I think it is a foregone conclusion that the next time the Ravens line up against the Broncos, and I don't know what the schedule says. I don't know if that's next year or 2 years or 3 years or hopefully sometime in his career, he's going to smoke us. Like he is going to totally, and I don't care if we have the best DBs, if we're the number 1 defense, it is not going to matter, because we all know that he could have done that at any point during the season, right? Like, he still had that in him. Maybe things didn't go right. Maybe he didn't have the right players.
How about this, dude? When Joe Flacco goes in, reads a defense, calls a play, backs up the pass, if he's given 5 seconds, if 3 guys run their pattern and 1 or 2 make a play and he can step up into the pocket, he's going to put the ball where he wants to put it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's Absolutely. The way the game is played, and that's the way the game is designed to be played. It's not the way he played it most of the time here, right? Like, literally, right. I mean, having a clean pocket, having elite receivers, having good down and distance, all of that, that was not the most consistent thing that happened around him. And he made the most of it and won Super Bowls and didn't win Super Bowls at various points, right?
I just know how it goes, and this is bred into our Baltimore personality. Like, when that opportunity comes, he will make us look silly, because that's just how it goes. And it won't matter in the grand scheme of things. It's just that one time. And, maybe it's the same like Montana as a Chief if he has to, play the 49ers. And, when these guys, Brett Favre leaves Green Bay, like, what's going to happen? And sometimes it goes the way you want the story to go, and sometimes it doesn't.
And sometimes it's Joe Namath in a Rams jersey. Sometimes it's Johnny Unitas in a Chargers jersey, right? Whatever that ugly Ed Reed in a Texans or a Jets helmet, right? Like, literally, I don't think Joe Flacco's there, and I think if Joe Flacco didn't want to play football anymore, he would simply say, dude, got a ring, got a trophy, I got my head, I got hit in the head by Kiko Alonso, my family's got more money than I'm ever going to need, I'm done, thank you very much. I don't think that's what this indicates, that Joe's just going out to collect $20 million next year and move his family out to debt. I think there's a lot of soul searching to go on for anyone. I'm 50 and doing it, right? And you know that because you're part of my Dr. Melfi group. But, my Baltimore Positive initiative that I got coming down the line, there comes a point where you burr up and, you say, all right, I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do this. This is the time for Joe Flacco, and this is a challenge for Joe Flacco, and he's answered the bell at every other turn Dude, I would not bet $1 against Joe Flacco right now. I just wouldn't. And I felt like he was broken down or had elements of that or psychologically was pampered with his $150 million and he bought the nice sunglasses and was sunning himself and gone Roger Dorn. I don't know, dude. I saw a pretty good football player out there in August and September and October. I really did.
Right. You have to do my research because I don't have the time. But, like, is Kubiak still involved with the Broncos?
He was in but out, now out, but Vic Fangio's in. The guy they brought in from to run the offense, I can't, Scangarella, I want to make sure I pronounce that correctly, also runs, they run the same system the Kubiak ran. So he'll be running a Kubiak system when he gets there.
I mean, I think that he was pretty much on the record that the two of them seem to click pretty good, or maybe it's not the people as much as the concepts and the way they want to play the game. But yeah, I'm with you. Joe was never the guy. Like, I can remember all the seasons where we were complaining because he wasn't meeting with his receivers and throwing in the off season and all that baloney. And so Joe's never been that guy, but he seems to be pretty grounded in his family. He seems to be pretty grounded in, he got a big contract, but it didn't really change his buying habits or the way he was living his life. I'm sure it made things easier, but I think that
he always told me he didn't want his kids to be spoiled brats. I remember him telling me that when I was driving around his hometown after he won the Super Bowl.
I don't either, but,
That was really important to him.
That's pretty hard to do.
Yeah, it was really important to him.
But the world's different. It's just really hard. I mean, I don't want mine to either, but it's just very different world. It's hard to do that.
That's why I have a cat.
Right. I mean, the consumer, universe is like Amazon and having stuff at your door in 2 days. That wasn't a thing. Like, you had to wait until
you know what, man? I don't even take advantage of that, man. My wife does all the Amazon shopping and all the online thing. I mean, I'm just not. That's a rabbit hole I don't go down. I'm an information shopper, right? Like, I that's who I am on the internet. I haven't become a big buyer of things on the internet.
But that's the same, right? So if you were an information buyer as a 12-year-old, you had to go to the library. You had to get a book at school.
Microfiche.
I mean, it was still really difficult, and you had to work hard to get it. Today, you don't have to really work hard to get anything.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And
music, especially music. Yeah, I had to go to the mall. I put a Highlandtown post up about Jaeger's music the other day, and it got a lot of heat. So apparently I play big in Baltimore City, Bill Cole. We'll find out. Hey, good having you on. Bill Cole, he is Cole Roofing. My coffee cup is empty. I need to go refill with Royal Farms. That means it's time for you to go. Tell everybody what you do and how to find you out there. Cole Roofing, and tell them the easiest way to find you.
Yeah, the web's the easiest, coleroofing.com. Been doing commercial roofing for 100 years. Any kind of maintenance, repairs, re-roofs, all commercial. Just looking to help people solve their commercial roof problems. And we do solar. We have a company, Gordian Energy Systems. We're doing solar on commercial rooftops, on garages, on the ground. It's really good stuff. I always encourage people. I know it's still new and people don't necessarily understand how to buy it, so we like to help do the education piece and help people kick the tires and figure out whether it's something that makes sense for them. So.
I always, man, when you say that, I think like Man with the Golden Gun, because it was my favorite movie. I was like, James Bond and, Maude Adams was in that one, right? I mean, that was a good one. They had a solar reactor. It's like, I was 5 years old, the first time I ever heard the word solar. I didn't think solar meant sun. I thought it meant like a little device, but what do I know? That's me being a kid. So solar is the way of the future. Bill Cole is there. Cole Roofing. You can find him out there as well as on my coffee cup here. Nasty at WNST.net. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram. Launching Baltimore Positive very, very soon. And, of course, on Facebook Live as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. The buyatoyota.com audio vault is there 24/7. 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. You can listen to what you want, when you want, where you want. It's the way the kids are doing it. It's called podcast. Even the young guys like Bill Cole are doing it. Nasty at WNST.net is the hotline for me. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.